I met a gypsy.
Yeah. And I've heard you talk about the way you break down corners as well. So you've got like A, B, and C. So you've got, I'm guessing, is that right? You call it A, B, and C, or like
area 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess what's your like thinking, but in that, and like what are you looking for in like? So let's say it's just like a left hand, nice rut, some bumps coming in and some acceleration bumps coming out, but it's like a smooth, nice rut. Like, what are you trying to feel, or what are you like wanting from your bike in those different areas?
So if we want to break it down, between, I always try to break it down: chassis, engine, suspension, and that testing term that I use, area 1, 2, and 3, comes from trying to talk to the Japanese Japanese engineers.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with certain ways to explain to them, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling here. So I kind of rolled that into my lingo, so to speak, when I was talking to some of these guys. So what you should break down as far as engine-wise is, if you're coming into a corner and you're rolling your throttle off, is how the ride attitude of your bike is. Is it flat? And if you want to perform a rut, berm, whatever it is, you got to have the right ride attitude of the motorcycle. If you're front end too low, you might have oversteer. So you're going to knife, right?
Yeah.
So you want to think about your bike being as flat as possible, going over the bump, so that way you can start your lean early into the corner. That's what you're really looking for. Now, that could be a lot of different things. It could be technique too, maybe because you're hauling ass and you just jam on the brakes and you're diving down. But there's a lot of different variables with dirt bikes, right? So for me, it's ride attitude. That's the number one thing. How flat is your motorcycle coming into the corner, and then how your bike reacts engine-wise from the throttle. We always talk about throttle connectivity. So when you touch your throttle, does your bike react, too much? Is it nice and smooth? And that's one thing good about KTMs. It's always pretty smooth, so there's not a lot of reaction into those types of engines. So you always want a controllable engine and a flat feeling chassis ride attitude when you come into the corner. That's what you're looking for.
And then, so as you go into like area 2, then what are you kind of looking for in that section of the corner?
Basically, you're a front end steering guy. You want front wheel feel, because that's really when you start putting pressure on that front wheel, right? So you want a fork that feels somewhat plush in that area. That gives you a lot of tire contact feel. Because I don't know if you know, and if you had this experience. So if your fork is too stiff, you will feel like your tire width is really narrow. Like you're like, oh man, I'm skating out a lot. I'm getting a lot of push. And that's most of the reasons is A, too much pressure in your tire, or that your fork is just too stiff and you're not getting a lot of tire contact patch, right? So area 2 is important, where you put all that pressure on your rubber, and then you want that fork to kind of move a little bit in that mid-stroke, because that's basically where you're riding into that area 2 of the corner. So you want some supple feel in there, and that's what you're looking for, is like tire contact patch and bite. And then that last part of area 3, you're going to roll that throttle on harder, so you want that fork to kind of stay down a little. You don't want that fork coming up and pushing outward.
Yeah.
So you want your rebound somewhat slower in that area, so that way your bike, again, the ride attitude of your bike is somewhat flat, and you're not trying to like push your front end away from the rut.
Yeah. That's what you were just talking about in area 2. That was actually the thing that I felt the most, because I've just got the new MX Tech forks, and I haven't been able to put that much time on them. And because they're like literally brand new, there's just like that general bed in time, So they were like fairly stiff. Yep. And I was just like, right, I'm not really going to bother too much with doing any clicks here, because it's a brand new fork. So I was just trying to put some time and get them to where they felt like they started softening up on their own. And then once they started softening up on their own, I had a couple of people ride it, and they're like, yeah, they're just too stiff, so like, let's back it out. And then we ended up just backing it out like 2 clicks at a time, until what you said about that tire contact point and getting into area 2. Like, I actually I think one thing that's like a telltale sign for me of a fork being too stiff is that it feels like you're actually getting rebound in the middle of the turn in that area too.
You want to rebound upward, yeah.
Yeah, so it feels like you're actually because it's just not going like down enough. So yeah, that's where that I basically the other day riding would set my fork to like have it to where it felt like it kept going down into area 2 the way that you're explaining and not getting like that like rebounding feeling coming out of it.
So it's funny too because I wrote an article. Actually still write articles. I don't know if you read anymore, but like a lot of people don't read, they want it on video. But for me, like, again, I write everything down. So I wrote an article called Action and Reaction. For every action we take on suspension or engine, there's a reaction somewhere else, right?
Yep.
So again, you want to soften that area up and you might get that portion of the track better. But, you know, now that you softened it up, your rebound is now quicker. So now your rebound is going faster because your fork is moving more, right? So your rebound's coming up quicker. So I have a theory that I've put in place a long time in testing is that every 2 clicks that I go in on compression, if I'm going stiffer 2, I back out my rebound 1. Or if you go out 2 on compression, I stiffen my rebound 1. So that way it balances it out, right? Because if you go too soft, you could be riding too low on the entrance of your corner, but yet it could be okay in area 2. So you can stiffen that rebound, and that acts like a form of compression as well.
Yeah, and I
dude,
think
I'm telling you right now, motorcycles is tough. It's tough. It's a tough deal, dude. It's such a hard thing.
Well, that's one thing that I can't remember who was actually telling me this, but I remember one day wanting to change my compression on my shock, and then I had someone just say, like, just go out 2 on your rebound, and then that you'll probably free up, like it'll feel like you're softening your shock, but you'll actually just be like freeing it up a little bit. So that was like the first time I started thinking about like the relationship between compression and rebound.
Yeah, and too, like, it goes off of dirt too. Like, I don't know if you talking about your shit days at your track, and those shit days are probably hard pack and square edgy and just poor track prep. I speed up my rebound on those type of days to get my wheel back onto the ground quicker, so I have more tire contact feel, right? And then if you have really good days at the track where it's disc deep and you have soft bumps, I try to slow my bike down a little bit in the compression area things, because I have enough traction, but yet I don't want my wheels kicking me into a corner when I have, tall, soft bumps.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.